Adversity comes in a lot of forms, and you're all familiar, obviously. There are some great, great examples in history. A couple of them, Walt Disney was told he had no imagination and no good ideas, and after several business failures and bankruptcies, he kind of found a pretty good recipe. It pretty well worked. Thomas Edison's teachers told him he was really stupid. And he went to work, and his first two bosses fired him, and he said, I think I'm going to work on this little invention thing. And he tried and tried and tried and tried, and after missing 1,000 times and more, he came up with that incandescent light bulb that works pretty well. Henry Ford had 5 businesses fail before he founded the Ford Motor Company. And one of my favorites, because of my age, is Colonel Sanders. 65 years old, good old Colonel Sanders. He had this really neat special chicken recipe that he wanted to sell to restaurants. Anybody know how many restaurants he visited before they finally took it? 1,009 stops before number 1,010 said, I'll try it. That's a lot of restaurants to visit. My favorite, though, of all, and I suspect many of you have heard of the Cat in the Hat, Theodore Geisel, a.k.a. Dr. Seuss. Everybody has either read, heard, or maybe people read to you The Cat in the Hat. He was around for a long time. Unbelievably, even though he sold millions of books, the first 27 publishers he went to, 27, rejected his first book to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. Can you imagine that? Mulberry Street. Everybody knows where Mulberry Street is, right? Springfield, Massachusetts. And just in case you're ever in the area, this is just a little aside, and I'm not paid by the Geisel Museum or anything. It is an amazing experience. It's a couple of blocks away from the City Hall in Springfield, Massachusetts. You can take your children or grandchildren into the courtyard and meet the Cat in the Hat and all the other characters and go through the museum, and it's an amazing, amazing experience. But you're not here to hear about all of those kinds of things. Those are people who did some pretty amazing things. We're going to talk about Walt Disney a little bit later as well. I had one or two or three or four pieces of adversity along the way, you might say, and we'll get to that. But when you have some adversity, what should you really look for? How do you get past it? And what about your company and the company's adversity? We learned early on in the ESPN process what exactly is it you want to do. I think too many companies get involved, write the mission statement, decide when we're going to have a meeting, when we're going to talk about this, and so on. In 1978, October of 1978, we went to the National Collegiate Athletic Association, the NCAA, in Kansas City, and said, we have this idea. We're going to show more television, more events of your student athletes and your teams and schools and so on than have ever been shown anywhere in history. And they said, how are you going to do that? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do all these sports. We're going to get some details about that in a minute. That was what we told them in 1978. That one sentence, that's all it was. We weren't going to do any news. We weren't going to do any weather. We weren't going to do anything else. That one sentence has now been distilled, and ESPN's mission statement may be one of the shortest you have ever seen. It's exactly 6 words long. To serve sports fans anytime, anywhere. Do you ever see news from Afghanistan, from the Middle East, from hurricanes or anything on ESPN? Nope. Every single decision that ESPN is driven by those words. And if you think about it, and you think about your business and what it is you're trying to accomplish, if you define your mission very, very strictly and succinctly, you can't help but stay on the right path. Now, I've seen mission statements 3 paragraphs long, 3 pages long. If it takes 3 pages to explain it, that's too complicated, I think. That's just my own idea.